biblical counseling probably doesn't look the same from place to place, country to country, church to church, home to home. So let's talk a little bit about that. What does biblical counseling look like?
I think I'll start on a grand scale.
Okay.
And I was, over the Easter season, I was looking at Jesus talking to the two people on the road to Emmaus.
Road to Emmaus.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, great.
And I thought this is a beautiful picture of what biblical counseling looks like. So this is like the big overview. Jesus came and entered a conversation, and that they had a conversation going on. We have conversations going on inside of our heads, and it needs to be interrupted. And that's what Jesus does, is he interrupts the conversation. And in a sense, that's what we're seeking to do, is help Jesus interrupt a conversation inside of somebody. But before he interrupted the conversation, he listened. And he heard where they were, heard their hearts, and felt their despair with them, walked alongside of them. And then when he was ready to talk, he didn't give some good ideas. He opened the scripture and started showing them from beginning to end. Here's the gospel.
That's right.
So I think, and then I think that the fruit of it was they were empowered, they were given hope, and they went off to tell everybody else, which I think is our ultimate goal as we seek to invest in people's lives. So yeah, that's kind of like a grand scale look at it, I think. Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
So I love what you said right there. That's especially what you said at the end. So that they went off to go spread the word as well.
Yeah.
And so what if biblical counseling looked like that? What if one of our goals in biblical counseling was to make disciples that then make disciples, right?
Yeah.
That the Great Commission was not just about, I want to disciple this person, but rather I want to see this person get so fired up and excited about the gospel, the love of God, that they are then off and seeking to make disciples as well.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Wendy, so so in your context, maybe you could explain your context a little bit. So what does counseling look like?
Counseling to me is where people, call and they say, this is going on in my world, and immediately, you say, Lord, all right, here's an opportunity for us to one another again. And God, may I glorify you in this. And then what does that unfold like? I think it changes in person to person. One that I was thinking of in particular when I was looking at this question was a story where this person, I kept asking, like, tell me more of what's going on here. Here's something, going on in my life, so that I can kind of normalize it for her, that I'm also going through things. And but then she can share, and I, as we get to talking about her, the issues going on in her life, then we say, all right, what's God up to here? God is up to something amazing. And we walk through the scriptures and find out where the scriptures say that. And so it validates the journey that we're entering in on together. Something I was thinking of when you were saying that, Betty Ann, about the person is being discipled, so then they will disciple. At the same time as a person's being discipled, if we bring in others into the story in the now, we're also discipling now others, right? So that I recall the conversation where we've said, this isn't just about you. We have been so brainwashed into believing that everything's about me.
That's right.
And so this is not just about you. This is about your kids growing right now, and their lives glorifying God more because of what you're going through, and for others. So there was another thought that I love to bring out wherever we can, and CCF has a statement that has been mentioned in a number of their courses. We are more similar than we are different.
That's right. Yeah.
And that really impacted the way that I offer the counseling room, or my two pink chairs in my one room, is that if I prepare in my spirit the reality that I am more similar to this person coming into this room than I am different from them, that my spirit, my heart, my listening is going to be in a different place than if I'm just coming in with these answers, So that's what I.
That's great. Yeah, there is a real danger of trying to be the answer person, right?
Yeah.
We don't want to be that. Don't be that person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't want biblical counseling to be kind of cookie cutter, right? That this is kind of the thing, and you need to come in and fit into my thing that I've designed here. But are there some things that are always the same? Like, are there, when you have someone come in, is there a basic sort of skeleton kind of process that's always the same, that maybe different sinews and muscles and different flesh on the bone, but is there kind of a basic process that you follow with every person, or is it totally different every single time? What does that look like?
If we're talking about formal counseling, it probably does have a structure that's fairly similar, and so it's always first learning the person. Yeah, who are you, and how does the story that's being written for your life, how are you responding to that? How does it feel to you? Where are you at with that story? I think that's got to be a starting spot. There is a sense that you don't want to talk until you have a good sense of that.
Data gathering, for sure.
Yeah.
Just I use the ACBC forms that we got in training 15 years ago, and just gathering basic data about the person, because it springboards into many other things as you're gathering that data, and then just trying to hear patterns, trying to hear recurring themes of the way they're responding, and then helping them to identify that themselves. It maybe even taking some of what's been written and giving it back to them and saying, this is what I've noted. Can you highlight this kind of a phrase when you hear it? I'm hearing something, and I want you to see if you can hear it, and so that would be just one of the ways that I go about it.
So we'd have kind of a basic, if it's a more formal counseling situation, sort of a basic process that we're sort of working through. How does the gospel play into that? So we've got kind of our process, the kinds of questions that we might ask, that kind of thing, and where we kind of want to go. Maybe you could speak to just a little bit about, like, how important is the gospel in all of this?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think one of the things when people come for help, the center of the story tends to be either them or their problem. And I want to hear them in that place, but I want to move them so that the gospel becomes the center of the story, and those other things are around it. So yeah, the gospel is absolutely center to this. And if we're going to be able to inspire hope, which would be a really key element for me in biblical counseling, I've got to give them a hope bigger than the hopes they're likely looking for. That they might be looking for relief, getting out of depression, or my marriage being good, but I want them to have a gospel hope that's bigger than any circumstance here.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yes, yeah, I'd affirm that as well. I love referring to James. Why is this going on? What causes? Consider all joy when you face the stuff of life. Why is this going on? It's your character is being refined, and I also like to refer to the greatest commandments. How is this happening? Is this happening? Oh, it's not. Okay, let's look at this. How are you loving your neighbor? How are you loving God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength? And so what are we going to? And that brings absolutely the Christ-centered focus from meology into Christology.
Yeah, I love that, because there just is not going to be any love for God or love for others apart from the gospel, right? The love of God comes down, then love for God goes up, and then love for others goes up from us as well, right? Yeah, I love that. So our counsel needs to be gospel centered, but still we want to have some kind of if it's formal, right? We want to have some kind of a process as well. What about just a more informal counseling? So, kind of getting together with people. Are there some similarities there as well when it's less formal, things that you would always typically do?
Always typically. Maybe not. I feel like I recognize that really in life we are always counseling. Right? We are always influencing people's lives. And I'm deeply passionate about the influence I have in somebody's life being authoritative, and I'm not authoritative.
Right.
So I really want to speak scripture into people's lives. I want this kind of hope, not something I can offer out of my small humanness. So I think for me, I am wanting to point to the gospel, to God, to his grand story in all of my conversations.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Because we can't lose with pointing people to Jesus,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Amen. That's so great. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.